The figure on the screen illustrates the intricate genesis of Israeli. An arrow represents either contribution or influence. From time to time, it is alleged that Hebrew never died. Consider Haramati, 1992 and 2000, as well as William Chomsky, 1957, who was the father of the famous Jewish-American linguist Noam Chomsky. It is true that throughout its literary and liturgical history, Hebrew was used as an occasional lingua franca, a language of communication between people who do not have any vernacular in common. However, between the 2nd and 19th centuries AD, Hebrew was no one's mother tongue. I believe that the development of a literary language is very different from the development of a fully fledged native tongue. But there are many linguists who, albeit rejecting the eternal spoken Hebrew mythology, still explain every linguistic feature in Israeli as if Hebrew never died. For example, Gideon Goldenberg, 1996, suggests that Israeli pronunciation originates from internal convergence and divergence within Hebrew. I wonder, however, how a literary language can be subject to the same phonetic and phonological processes as a mother tongue. I argue, rather, that the Israeli sound system continues the strikingly similar phonetics and phonology of Yiddish, the native language of almost all Hebrew revivalists. The obvious competing hypothesis is the classical language contact analysis, according to which Israeli is axiomatically Hebrew with extensive influence from Yiddish as well as other European languages spoken by its creators. But this hypothesis sounds implausible, even if only from a historical perspective. If the phonology and phonetics, and in fact almost all other linguistic components of Israeli, were shaped by European languages in the reclamation process, I wonder why one should argue that Israeli is Hebrew influenced by Yiddish. Such a contact linguistic analysis may suit modern Italian, which is influenced by American English, but how can one expect it to suit the case here in which neither Israeli nor Hebrew were mother tongues between the 2nd and the 19th centuries AD? Obviously, I cannot argue that every reclaimed language must be hybridic. But even though the enthusiastically and ideologically devout Hebrew revivalists who wished to speak pure Hebrew failed to impose their imprisoning purism prism, it still stands as the most successful reclamation attempt. It would be hard to compete with the Hebrew reclamation because of its following two components. 1. The remarkable strength of the revivalists' motivation, zealousness, Hebrew consciousness, and centuries of next year in Jerusalem ideology. And 2, the extensive documentation of Hebrew as opposed to, say, the documentation of sleeping American indigenous languages. I believe that Israeli does include numerous Hebrew elements resulting from a conscious reclamation, but also numerous pervasive linguistic features deriving from a subconscious survival of the revivalists' mother tongues, for example, Yiddish.